Hello everybody! On April 1st this year, we got the first episode of Hell's Paradise Jigokuraku released. Now, Hell's Paradise has been an anime that I've been really anticipating for a long time. I've read the manga, and it's also being animated by MAPPA, so of course it's going to mean some level of quality in the animation, despite what you may think about the actual company itself. So, we finally got the first episode of the anime, and I know this video will be coming out a few days late after the episode has actually aired, being that they will air on every Saturday here in the state, in the States here. But this episode has a lot of really cool and interesting things to it, and like I did with Bleach Chainsaw Man, I'm going to review it all and talk about it. So, here's what we got. So we just got finished watching Jigokuraku Episode 1, or Hell's Paradise Jigokuraku Episode 1. Really, whatever you want to call it, Jigokuraku pretty much translates out to 2 parts heaven to 1 part hell. So like about some like Hell's Paradise. It's something of how it's spelled in the Japanese and the Kurakus and stuff like that. But overall, this episode is titled The Death Row Convict and the Executioner, and it covers the entirely first chapter of the manga. Nothing's left out, and nothing is introduced extra yet. So without further ado, let's go into the episode itself. So we start off with some narration from the narrator, and they're just like, beheading requires a lot of strength. The neck has more than 10 layers of muscles, and to get through all of those, it takes a well-trained swordsman. It takes even the best swordsman like a few swings to get it perfectly correct. As we see an executioner here, and a man that we will later know as our main character, whose name is Gabimaru, and we understand that Gabimaru here is about to get his head severed. And we see the executioner ask him, hey, do you have any last words? Gabimaru just goes, no, I do not. As the blade swings down, the executioner just can't cut the neck, and on his final attempt, he's putting all of his energy into it, and whenever the blade hits Gabimaru's neck, it just snaps. As everybody goes around just like, what? Why is the blade snapped? What's going on? As the main character is just sitting here thinking, he's just like, oh man, why can't I die? It's just, why won't I die? I want to die. Why can't I not? And he's like, I've got no attachment to life. I've got no reason to stay here. So just, why can't I die? As at this point, it's been about a minute of the episode, and we cut over to the opening, which is work by Millennium Parade and Ringo Shiina. This opening is very interesting. I really don't know what type of music to put it in with. It's just a very interesting way to do an opening, if I should say so myself. Really interesting song, and I'll probably grow to enjoy it a bunch, but it'll just take some time. But again, the opening is work by Millennium Parade and Ringo Shiina. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this is exactly a minute and 30 seconds, so just take that for what it is. We cut back to the episode as we see that this woman is interviewing Gabimaru. At this point, we learn that Gabimaru's name is Gabimaru, and the woman's like, alright, your name is Gabimaru, you were born in the ninja village of Iwagakure, right? And he's just like, yeah, that's me. And pretty much, she pretty much says, so you're an assassin, you're a trained ninja, and everybody in that village is a superhuman. And she's like, I'm betting you can even use ninjutsu. And Gabimaru's just like, yeah, I can. That's something I can do, right? And she's like, well, I would personally like to see it. And he's just like, yeah, well, you're not. Next thing is we cut up to Gabimaru, who's getting burned at the stake this time. We get some narration from narrator about how bad getting burned at the stake is. Pretty much, you're tied up to a pole, and the pole warps, which means you warp with it. And it's just incredibly painful, and most people will mercy kill the person who is being burned at the stake just as a thing for mercy, because it's so painful and terrible. Well, the person tries to mercy strike Gabimaru, and Gabimaru just breaks the blade again. And he's just like, I'm not trying to resist, what's going on here? As he's burned at the stake, and we cut to the night there. As we see that this lady here is back talking with Gabimaru, and she's just like, I'm just here to record events, so just let me know, why aren't you dying and everything? What is your whole life story, in a way? as we get the idea that we get some of Gabimaru's backstory, right? He's just like, I don't know, I was born, then my parents died all of a sudden as the village chief killed them and took me in and raised me as his own. He's just like, I never really had any care about it, I just never have. And he's also like, in general, shinobi don't care, right? It's just how it all works. And he's just like, well, I tried to leave, and that's how I got caught. I was ambushed, and you weren't supposed to leave, so I ended up getting ambushed by people, and that's how I'm here where I am now. As we cut to the next day once again, where Gabimaru is trying to be offed by bulls. So we have two bulls, one tied to each of his foot. His arms and head are tied stationarily to a board, and the bulls run in opposite directions, ripping the person in half. And of course, Gabimaru ends up resisting this by pretty much pulling on his legs, and the bulls just snap back and hit each other, and, well, Gabimaru is still alive. Right? As we see the Gabimaru's here almost in a daze, as this lady walks back up, and she's just like, it's strange, you are still resisting. And Gabimaru's like, but I don't have a will to live. As we sort of get a minor joke here, as Gabimaru is just like, yeah, I don't really want to do this. And this lady's just like, hey, so care to explain to me why you left your village? As one of the main person who's been trying to execute Gabimaru is just like, go grab more bulls, and just comes up to Slay and just like, hey, what are we doing here? It doesn't matter. I don't care about you trying to record the events of this dude. As she's just like, shut up, I'm working. The guy after bulls comes over and is just like, yeah, well, I've got the bulls. She's like, shut up, I am working here. As Gabimaru starts to say something, and she starts to say, shut up, I'm working, until she realizes that it's Gabimaru, and she's like, okay, well, what do you have to say? And Gabimaru sort of says that he left for his love, in a way. So pretty much he ended up marrying the chief's daughter in his shinobi village, and pretty much she's a massive idiot, right? And we see that she turned his life upside down, right? She sort of had him take off his shoes at the door, pray every day, and express gratitude before meals. And pretty much Gabimaru's just like, well, I need to leave, and this is just my time and everything, and we'll understand more of this throughout the episode, but right now it's very much meant to be ambiguous. As Gabimaru's like, alright, well, I'll go on one last mission, and he goes talks with the chief, and chief's like, alright, well, here's the thing, I need you to do one last thing for me before you leave the village, and there, he ended up getting caught and captured, and is now in a situation he's in now. Right? At this point, we cut to the night, where this lady and another one of these executioners is just walking down the way, and he's just like, I really don't think a woman like you should get messed up with him. I mean, you know his name, right? As the lady's just like, yeah, it's Gabimaru, the ninja, or just shinobi of Igakure. And he's like, no, his name is something much worse. Don't you know he's Gabimaru the Hollow? As we understand that Gabimaru is supposed to be a hollow person who doesn't care for his life, thus that nickname. And this guy continues to say, like, isn't it crazy? I'm pretty sure I've heard that they drink the elixir of life to liven themselves up and make themselves nearly immortal. And it's like, he's hollow and he's fighting back. I mean, I can't believe it. As Sagiru's like, would a truly hollow man fight back, though? Sure, he may have killed 20 people during his execution, but if he was hollow and didn't care, wouldn't he just let himself get captured and not try to resist? That doesn't seem very hollow to me. As we cut back to Gabimaru, who is sitting there in his chains and everything, he's just like, why am I doing this, right? Why don't I want to die? As we see that he was the one who snapped a blade on his neck, and he knew that he was surviving all of this, right? He was making sure to live throughout it all. And we cut to the next day, and where Gabimaru was like, tomorrow I'll let myself be killed. It will happen tomorrow. As we see that the next execution for next day is death by boiling. We get some more narration talking about how terrible it is, and that the earthen pots of the time couldn't withstand the heat, and thus they would crack and get destroyed fairly easily. And we see Gabimaru survive and just be like, why? I'm ready to die. Can't I just die already? As we see this lady here walk up to the head executioner and just like, hey, I'm ready whenever it's time to do it. And at this point, we cut to Gaimaro walking down a path, and he's just like, oh, what execution is it this time? Hopefully I can actually die now, ha ha ha. As we walk into a room, and we see that this lady here is the person who ended up killing Gabimaru, right? As we get some narration that she is no inspector. She is a sword tester from Edo. She is Yamada Asaimon Sagiri. I can finally call her Sagiri now, look at that. And at this point, we have the splash screen and the break in the episode, right? So it's a small little splash screen that just has the Jigokuraku kanji characters pop up on screen, and that's really all there is to it. Not really the best break screen, but I mean, I guess it works since you have to have one. So at this point, we get some narration about the Yamada clan, or the Yamada Asaimon is the trade name for the Yamada clan, who are professional sword testers, right? And they are people who can decapitate a human with a single blow, right? And Gabimaru's like, wait, what? You're a woman, though. Aren't you not allowed to be sword testers? She's just like, it's fine. The shogunate sent me for your execution. As Gabimaru sort of just has a jump to this point. He's just like, oh no, I'm going to die here. This isn't good whatsoever. And he's just like, no, this isn't good at all. As he starts to get scared, and all of a sudden, he has this image of his head just getting lopped off by Sagiri. And he's just like, no, I'm not doing this. As he starts to resist, right? And he jumps off as Sagiri starts to swing at him, and he breaks his wood bonds, and he just jumps out of the way and gets a small cut on his neck. And so you're just like, oh, I thought you were wanting to die there, right? As Gabimaru goes and grabs a blade from one of the other executioners standing in there in the room and goes and attacks Sagiri with it, right? And Sagiri's just like, as a sword tester, I have gone through many trials and tribulations, right? And he's like, the true nature of the blade, I can see what everything is going on here, right? And we see that. And she continues on with this sort of thing going like, I see a true nature of everybody in a blade. Some people lie about why they're doing what they're doing, right? And pretty much what we get is that, Gabimaru, you're not totally empty. You love your wife. As we sort of go to a sort of happy flashback for Gabimaru, as we go back to whenever his wife was telling him to, like, remove his shoes, and Gabimaru is sort of just blushing there, and he's just like, alright, will do. As he goes, and I think now is when he steals a sword, maybe not, I sort of forget, but at some point he steals a sword, and goes to attack Sagiri, and Sagiri's just like, why are you lying about this? And Gabimaru's like, you don't know me, I am truly hollow. As we cut to a flashback with Gabimaru and his wife. And pretty much here, Gabimaru's wife is just like, hey, here in this village of Igakaware, all men are supposed to be terrible assassins and terrible people, right? And women are just here to birth children. She's like, we can't live a normal life. It's nearly impossible, right? And he said, that's why my dad burned me, to give me the idea that I will never be normal. As we see that Gabimaru's wife has a scar on her eye where the chief of the village took like a burning hot rod and just struck her with it, right? Just destroying her face in a way. And pretty much what ends up being said is Gabimaru's wife is just like, hey, it is fine. You live yourself. I mean, it's a miracle that somebody like you can like somebody as ugly as me, yada, yada, yada. As he just gets it, as the wife ends up kissing Gabimaru, and she's just like, you're not hollow, I know this much. As Gabimaru back in a present fighting with Sagiri, he's just like, no, I'm hollow, you don't understand. As we cut back to Gabimaru's reasons for living the village, right? He often brought home and came covered in blood to his wife, and pretty much what ended up happening is that Gabimaru wanted them to live a nice, peaceful life, and a life where he didn't have to get all bloodied. And the way he described it earlier was that he didn't want to dull his edge by living with his wife, so instead of becoming a half-rate shinobi, he didn't want to be one at all at that point, right? So pretty much Gabimaru wanted to stop killing, go live a normal life, and pretty much whenever he got captured, he realized that all of his dreams were just blood-stained, and he just cuts back to the present being like, it's impossible for me to live a normal life, as Sagiri just stops and is like, it is possible, as she pulls out this pardon from the magistrate. And Gabimaru's like, what are you talking about, a pardon? What do you mean? As we pretty much get Sagiri saying, all throughout our life, we've all been told that at some place there's an island that is a paradise. So we get this idea of the Shinsenko, which is pretty much this perfect paradise of an island. But the thing is, this fairy tale has finally been found, right? And it is no longer just a mystery. But the thing is, even no matter how many missions they send to this island, none of them have ever returned. The only thing that returns is just remnants of man that are sort of buried in flowers and are all mutated. And pretty much we see that the shogunate wants the elixir of life. The shogun wants to live forever. And he just says, well, you know what then? It is time that I find this thing. So what I want to do is I want to take a bunch of criminals who are supposed to die and give whoever brings back the elixir of life a pardon. And he's just like, all right, then go out and do that. And so Sagiri's just like, I came here to find a good candidate for that, right? And just like, on the way here, I stopped by the village of Iwakure, and I understand that your wife is doing alive and well, and she is expecting a return. And the only way you can return is if you come with me and grab this elixir. And Gabimaru's like, all right, this sounds fine. As we then see that the lead executioner guy here with this group is just like, I won't let you do this, he's supposed to die, so we'll kill you too. And we see that Gabimaru's here, and he's like, maybe I'm not hollow after all. He starts to cry a little bit, and he turns over to Sagiri, and he's just like, so you wanted to see some ninjutsu, eh? And she's like, yeah, I did. And he just sets himself ablaze, and he says, well, here you go. This is my Ninpo aesthetic blaze. As we then cut all of a sudden to a mound of bodies. Sagiri's just like, oh wow, that was really impressive. And Gabimaru's just like, I'll do it. And I will get this elixir and go back to my wife. Sagiri's just like, well, first we have to go to Edo. And he's just like, oh, why do we have to go there? I just want to go and just go get this over with, right? And Sagiri's just like, well, here's the problem. You've now out of your funk, so you're going to be like this. And he's just like, and Gabimaru's just like, either way, I'll do it and make it back alive for you, my wife. And at that point, the episode ends as we get the ending, which is Kamitoe by Uru. Now, this ending is a very sort of slow ending that I haven't been sold on yet, but of course, like everything else, I'm sure I'll get sold on it in due time. I don't think it's bad at all. It's just a very slow ending, just detailing really the three characters that we know right now, which of course is Sagiri, Gabimaru, and Gabimaru's wife, who does get named later, but I don't want to say the name until it gets revealed. So, you're gonna have to stick with Gabimaru's wife. So, that's the end of the first episode of Hell's Paradise Jigokuraku. I particularly really enjoy this series, and I hope that this sort of review in a way of it sort of gave you all the information you needed to have. Of course, being that I know how the series progresses, I won't spoil anything in these reviews. I'll just talk about the content that was held. So, yeah, pretty much that's all there is to it. And this is a great episode, sort of just starting off a really good series. And yeah, Gabimaru to Hollow sounds really cool in Japanese. It's like Gureno no Gabimaru. It just sounds really cool. So yeah, this has been Hell's Paradise Jigokuraku, episode 1, titled The Death Row Convict and the Executioner. And this covered chapter 1 of the manga. So I'll see you guys next week when we talk about Hell's Paradise Jigokuraku episode 2 and the next episode. So yeah, alright, I'll see you guys then. It's going to be Glowplasma231 out.